Fallout from the defeat for England at Euro 2020 is continuing. Over the past few days, you'll have seen the appalling news of racial abuse, particularly on social media, directed towards some of the players. It comes as yesterday the Prime Minister Boris Johnson met with social media companies in Downing Street to discuss how better to tackle online abuse. It's quite a strange thing, really. Social media companies are able to remove posts that, let's say, have an infringement on copyright, but they don't always remove abusive posts. Yair Cohen is a social media lawyer who works to remove them and bring the perpetrators to justice. Good morning.
Very good morning, Mark.
Thanks for coming on. Just explain exactly what you do, if you would.
For the past 25 years, I've been specializing in internet law and social media. I'm a lawyer. I have a law firm. I have a group of lawyers that specialize in identifying internet trolls, internet abusers, unmasking people who abuse others on the internet. We've been very busy.
How do you do it, though? Because, as you say, a lot of the time these people are, well, they look anonymous. There's often no profile photo, very few details about them. So how do you manage to unmask them?
Well, in the early days, it used to be very, very challenging. But now we have almost streamlined those processes. So we have a great relationship with Google, with Facebook, with Instagram, with most social media companies and the larger website providers. And the problem for those websites is that they are not able to release users' information because of data protection laws here in the United Kingdom and in America. So we do need some sort of court order. We need something that will allow them to do that. So we kind of streamline that process, and we agree with them on the terms of a court order. We very quickly go to court. We get this court order. We send it to them, and within a few days, sometimes a few weeks, we will have sometimes quite incredible information that we don't really expect to see. But you will have, say, linked email accounts, telephone numbers, other IP addresses, sometimes home addresses, sometimes last few digits of a credit card that was used. So we are able then to build up a picture, put all the pieces together, and then I would say between 95 and 99% of the cases we are able to identify internet trolls.
Okay. Here's a question for you. Why is it that you're doing this and not social media companies themselves? If they can give you a court order to do it, why don't they just crack on? I think the question should perhaps be why do I do it rather than the police, for example? The problem with social media companies is that if you give them too much power, they are non-elected people. If you give them too much power to decide what type of posts should be taken down, what type of posts should remain, who to ban, who not to ban, very quickly you could get into almost a totalitarian state of affairs where you have a number of people, rich people, unaccountable, and they make all the decisions, who should be heard, who shouldn't be heard. And as we know, those decisions could quite often be influenced by their own political views, by their own political interests. It shouldn't really be for social media companies to make those decisions. I think we need to be really careful not to delegate those decisions to them, because they could make the wrong decisions and really ban people who shouldn't be banned. The question should be, why is the police not doing more about this? Or why Parliament is not making the laws that will enable perhaps social media companies to release that information quicker, in a cheaper way? Yeah, I mean, these are all interesting points that you make. I guess a lot of people would say, hang on a minute, some sites, Twitter, Instagram, others, these platforms are very quick to remove posts that, as I mentioned before, infringe copyright, or
step over the line when it comes to sexual content, for instance. But when it comes to this kind of racial abuse, they seem rather slow. And I hear what you're saying about, if you give them too much power, but why is it that they'll remove certain posts and not others?
Don't get me wrong, Mark. I'm not defending those social media companies at all. I'm defending us, as the people who need to be protected, and free speech need to be protected. Now, the answer to your question is very simple. The reason why social media companies will remove copyright infringement very, very quickly is because there are laws that tell them that they have to do this. There are laws that direct them to take a particular course of action. And what we need Parliament to say, hey, if somebody is complaining about racial abuse, they should send me perhaps a complaint to social media companies with a couple of screenshots, and that will enable social media companies to give them disclosure about the people who have been doing this to them. That's the way it should be done. Parliament shouldn't really delegate all those policing powers to private companies.
Let's talk about what you do then. Once you track these people down, and by the way, where do they tend to be? Because I hear varying stories about where these people are based. Do they tend to be in this country, or are they more often abroad?
The people who abuse other, say in the case of footballers and other celebrities, they tend to be in this country. And they come from all different walks of life. Nothing like that sort of stereotype, of a particular individual who might be doing this. So I managed to track down a police officer, quite a senior police officer, who was heavily trolling and harassing a woman, a banker, an investment banker. Entrepreneurs, you name it, Mark. It's just you cannot possibly assume that there is any type of individual or group of people that are doing this. I cannot explain why people are doing this. I have my own views. I think it is to do with their own issues, mental issues, psychological issues. I don't know, but I wish you were able to categorize them and say, this is the group of people that is responsible for racial slurs and abuse of this nature.
That's in some ways we're into a slightly different area, but it is fascinating what you say there, because I guess a lot of people will think, these are going to be probably young lads bored, sitting in their spare room, making up a profile on social media and just firing off some abuse. It sounds to me like it's much wider than that, and it's scarily people who are supposedly intelligent.
Yep. Yeah, adults in the 30s, in the 40s, professional people, civil servants. You really, racism is the idea that racism is something that is perhaps belong or confined to a particular group of people is nonsensical, of course, because we know that historically racism has been something that actually was developed by the higher classes, by the people with the resources. If you go back all the way to slavery, and then all different ideas of discrimination on the basis of race. It never came from the lower classes. It always came from the intelligentsia. It always came from the academia, from people who actually thought that they were better than others. And I think this is where we are now.
Mm. I know this might be a tricky question, but can you give me a rough idea of how many of these people you managed to track down, say, in a week or in a month?
Not in a week or a month. I mean, but we've managed to track down hundreds of these people. Hundreds. Yeah. And the thing about it is the people who are being, the individuals who are being trolled and abused and harassed, nearly all of them, they just wanted to stop. So by the time they come to us, and by the time you say, look, I just want you to make this go away. They are not interested in in anything else. They just want it to stop. And as soon as we are able to identify the perpetrators, the perpetrators just go away, and the whole thing just stops. So in some cases we do go to the police, and we've been quite successful with bringing prosecution, and people went to prison for that with evidence that we have obtained. But it is still very rare.
We could talk all day, but it is absolutely fascinating speaking with you today. Thank you. Yair Cohen, who is a social media lawyer. And this debate will continue, I'm sure.